you're making a good point here as a cue. See, what happens is that the newspaper that I'm reading today,
Mhm,
okay, is not too much different from the newspaper I read 10 years back or
mhm.
15 years back in terms of its construct, in terms of the way the news is there. In a rapidly changing world, if you think that your product remains the same 10, 15, 20 years, how can you expect to
So hello everyone, welcome back to another insightful marketing thought leader interview. In today's marketing interview, we are going to meet Mr. Sanjay Mehta, who is currently the joint CEO of Mirum India. An engineer by education, Mr. Mehta started his startup journey back in 1998 when he co-founded HomeIndia.com. In 2009, he launched a social wavelength, a social media management brand for social PR outsourcing. Is also the author of insightful book If I Had to Do It Again, which shed the lights on the insightful Home India story. Welcome, sir. Welcome to our thought leader interview. It's a pleasure to have you here, and we are expecting a lot of good inputs from your side related to marketing in this interview. So, very welcome.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Is there anything you would like to add from your side in your introduction if I miss out anything?
No, I think you've given a good introduction. It's just the last part, just to clarify that social wavelength is what we started. That
Mhm.
itself got renamed as Mirum in 2015.
Okay.
And so it's the same business, which is running from 2009. It got acquired by WPP Group in 2014. After that, it got rebranded as Mirum. So now it is called Mirum. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, so I'll start with my questions, which I had for us as a digital marketers over here in Digital Vidya, and also our digital marketing students who are aligned with us in all these kind of interviews. So, when was the first time you experienced the power of digital marketing, and how do you feel about digital marketing then?
So, the term digital marketing, of course, has evolved over time. But as you pointed out, I have been an internet entrepreneur from, way back in 1998. So
Right.
those early days, I mean, now looking early, but it was like the early days of the internet era in India. And when we started out our first venture called HomeIndia.com, sitting from here in India, we were marketing our offer like products and services, pure B2C products and services like Indian clothing, handicraft, jewelry, etc., to NRIs and other customers outside India. And the only practical way to reach them from here was through digital marketing. So our journey in digital marketing and its real usage, not just as a concept, but actually to build a business, the business of HomeIndia.com, started way back in 1998, 99. And that's when I first not only came across it, but found it fascinating and impactful enough to actually put my career on the block and start a venture in the field. So yeah, I've been a believer in this since 1998.
Right. And how challenging it was when you started in 1998, I guess the internet was on a boom, started coming out like the Bitcoins right now, the crypto right now. So was there a challenge when you get started first in 1998 when it comes to internet and its availability to users?
No, no, of course, it was extremely challenging. The fact is, we were sitting in India. In
Mhm.
India, the user base was very, very small. The internet users were still coming in, very, very small numbers.
Mhm.
And we started a business based here, but our customer was outside India because in the US, internet was, of course, already much more popular. And we were doing a B2C business, which required a large number of users to obviously be a potential customer for us. So in India, it was not the case. India transactions, commerce, etc., was not happening, and that was very early days. So first of all, reaching out to a customer base which is outside India, and not very like in other than the internet, we don't really know them. Also, it was early, it was pre-Facebook and other social media days. So when you have social media, what really changed after social media is that cohorts started aggregating. Like you would have pages on Facebook or communities and all. So the like-minded people connected. Whereas when we were selling ethnic Indian products like, say, jewelry or apparel like saris or salwar kameez, the customer in the US was all over the place. It's a huge country, and there was no easy way for us to target them because they were not congregated in groups on social media. So those were, pre-social media days, as I said. So of course it was a very tough to reach the customer and then bring them to our side, etc. But in all that was where we got our initial experience and where I learned everything. So if you learn there and then you get a social media and then you get other tools, obviously now you're able to do much better. So because you learned the hard way, and then things got simpler and easier. So yeah, those were very tough times, but it was fun because you're starting out in that. Remember that also, most of the time today when new ventures start, they are probably an improved version of something which is already there. So they learn from what is there and they say, okay, no, I'll do this better, I'll do this faster, I'll deliver in 10 minutes. Somebody says I'll deliver in 8 minutes and whatever. Whereas for us, there was no precedent, there was nothing before us in terms of having an e-commerce store for NRIs sitting from India. So everything that we had to do, we were doing it for the first time. We were creating the pathway which others followed on. So it was, that way it was fabulous that, you're actually the first in that space and creating a business, and then others come and follow it.
Absolutely. So I think I can completely agree with the challenge. If today's marketer was given this thing that if social media is not there and Google ad is not there and you have to market, they will be completely become clueless that how exactly they can getting started to, because there were very few things which was available
That's
in 1998. As you said, social media was a kind of a great factor nowadays when it comes to e-commerce. And when it was not there, I can completely agree with you that it is something which you guys started and even took it to such level. Great, thank you, sir. Now coming to the second question, what is your some great aha moments into your digital marketing journey?
Obviously, like I said, since we were there in early days, there were many aha moments. So, in fact, to give you an example, to give you a little more context of the history, we did
Mhm.
not completely start out to, with a website for selling, for e-commerce. What we were doing actually was building websites for other customers, like how any other website company is in India today also. So that was, even before we started our own, we created our own site. We were doing for many, many other clients. We said, okay, let's create a site for ours also. And just a name came up, homeindia.com, for some reason, and we just created one. Then at a point of time, a really important, impactful event happened, which is when Sabir Bhatia was the founder of Hotmail, and it
Right.
got acquired by Microsoft for some $400 million or something. And he's an Indian sitting in the US. We were in India doing an internet-based business. This was also an internet-based business of his. So for us,
Mhm.
it was huge news. I mean, it was not like how it is today. Today we have Indian founders in global companies and all over the place. But this was one of the first ones of that kind, which was an Indian founded company which achieved so much fame and money. So it was a big impactful event for us. And we started thinking that what can we learn from it? We are in the same business. Now he got Hotmail, to happen. And the reason it became so big and successful is that he was the first person to crack a browser-based email service. Like we all know, like Gmail, what Hotmail, all those. Hotmail was the first one, and uh, not only cracked, but the user base went very, very rapidly up. So the the understanding that we got out of that why did users adopt to this very fast, whatever at least we concluded is that, and a consumer likes to communicate with their whatever friends, family, colleagues, etc. And so as soon as he got this browser based email, wherever he went, he or she, they used it, and hence the user base went up rapidly. Using that insight, we said, how do we learn from that insight for us, for in India? in India, the user base is very small, internet user base is small. So how do I manage to learn from this idea? And what we came to a conclusion was that there is the NRI who's sitting outside India, who has internet on his or her desk. They
Mhm.
have family and friends in India. What if we enable to connect them through a service? Because communication is what people seem to love. That was the success of Hotmail. So we created a service called Online Post. Now, what was Online Post? It was a service which ran on Home India. People, NRIs could come to the website and see online post service. They could type out a message or a letter meant for their family in India, and it would come to us as an email. We would then print it out on paper. We would put it into an envelope and post it to an India address, right? Because the India address didn't have email. So
Right.
otherwise, that NRI would have sent a written letter, which is not very, like, you have to think about writing a letter. Sometimes it happens. Even then, it would have taken him some time to write, then put an envelope, put some 49 cents of stamp. It would take 10-15 days to reach his family. Here, the email reached us instantaneously, like email does. And we would post it in India. It would take 2 or 3 days to reach. And we offered it for free because then Hotmail is free, this service is free. So even though we were putting a cost to the printing and posting, we said that will come out of advertising, because when they come to the website, they will see ads. When the letter goes to the Indian person in India, we will carry advertising flyers with it. So advertising will fund the exercise. The letter will be free. So this is what we started, and we didn't know how it will do. But the aha moment, coming back to your question, the aha moment was that within a week we were seeing 100 letters a day. Within a month we were starting to see 300 letters a day. Within some 6 months we were doing 2,000, 3,000 letters a day. So it kind of rapidly took off. And with zero marketing, we didn't have any marketing monies or anything. It was pure word of mouth, pure viral. That a good service, a service which was meeting a real need for an NRI and their family, it just took off. So that was an aha moment that, heck, digital, is here. This is how it happens. And, we can only do better and bigger from this point onward. So I think it all started from there.
Wow, sir. I mean, I can completely imagine this. At that time, there was hardly any internet available, and that I can say that that's kind of a viral advertisement you started, and
Absolutely.
great way to get started. I mean, probably have never heard about this, but good to know from you that something like this can be done,
Yes,
and this
you
completely adds an emotional
might
touch to
have
the
not been
user as
born at that time, so you've not heard. But
really.
if you talk to some of the older people who used to be in America, even today, once in a while we meet somebody, and when I talk about this, say, "Oh yes, we had used it once or twice or whatever." So it's really nice to hear that people who are sitting there, they had found use of it. They may not remember Home India, but they say, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we had used this kind of service, so and it was ours." So it gives us a lot of satisfaction. Yeah.
Great. So, I mean that's also add an emotional factor which user used to write on internet
Exactly,
and probably
exactly.
written in the form of a
In
letter.
fact, you're right. Our tagline was that we deliver emotions. It was our brand tagline. So exactly, you're right.
Great. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us this information. Can I say this was your greatest achievement in digital marketing to date, or is
I mean,
there any?
I think it was one of the big ones because it got us started. I think
Okay.
after that, getting into e-commerce and getting our first order, getting even with social wavelength. I mean, we started out. It was in 2009 that we started. It was in some sense the very early days of social media, but getting that first client check, and then also there have been many such moments. I mean, in entrepreneur's journey, there are many high points, but yeah, you asked me one, and this is what came to mind first, the big aha moment. But there have been many after that. Yeah,
Right. So I can completely imagine in your journey. Your journey is more than of my age as well, your
yeah,
experience. So there
yeah,
could be multiple aha moments you might have experienced throughout.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
So nowadays there's so much digital going on. According to you, what kind of situation you think conventional marketing techniques like newspaper and TV is still valuable? Do you think we can still be using this?
Actually, yeah, I think interesting. There's one more advertising projection report which just came out a few days back, and it is projecting that digital advertising will go ahead of television advertising also in this coming year. And then, it's already much ahead of print and all that. So yeah, from a pure advertising revenue point of view, digital is definitely number one now. But from utilization, from a need in the market or need for the consumer, I believe still television, print, all of them have their own relevance. Their revenues as a percentage have definitely, gone down from being very, very dominant, in this advertising mix. But I mean, like say for example, television, especially appointment television in specific time, specific program, is continues to have relevance for, let's say, news and for live events like live sports, etc. But otherwise, it's under pressure, because why would I go to a television at 8 p.m. and or 8:30 p.m. and watch Tarak Mehta when I can watch it on set Sony Live whenever I want, right? So yes, pure play sort of television in that sense is having its challenges. Print is a matter of habit that a lot of consumers have, that they need a morning newspaper, and then that's where the day starts. But otherwise, the actual content, of course, is already dated, because the news has happened the previous night or the previous evening or the previous day. It is already on Twitter, it's already on other online news. So you're not kind of getting something new when you see the newspaper in the morning. Okay, there may be some nostalgic connect that, oh, my day always has to start with a newspaper, or some kind of editorial content that you're happy with, or something like that. But it is, I mean, honestly, the new generation don't have those connections. They are digital natives. You might have been born at a time when digital was already a very much a reality on a day-to-day basis. I'm not sure if you or your people on your age have that connect with the newspaper or anything. So yeah, it is shifting, but it is, as on date, there is still a role that all of the media play. Going forward, it might become, I don't think it goes away,
Mhm.
but the leaders will continue to have. So if it's a print, the leading publications will continue to have a space. But there were a lot of fringe, the smaller newspapers, which were surviving. Now those will completely, go away, because they will find it hard to make ends meet in terms of advertising or subscription revenues. So as a medium, it won't disappear anytime soon, but it will be, you will need to be really the best and the fittest, efficient in terms of cost management, etc., to survive.
Right. So I think, yes, absolutely. But uh, I think the way our smartphone evolved and the way in India, uh, the internet becomes so cheap after Geo coming into the market, that could be a great reason of like our generation, because I read news through an app which just gave me a simple summary of what happened really, just like the finance news which recently
No,
broke out, and we
actually,
started
you're
read.
making, you're making a good point here, as a cue. See, what happens is that the newspaper that I'm reading today,
Mhm,
okay, is not too much different from the newspaper I read 10 years back or
mhm,
15 years back, in terms of its construct, in terms of the way the news is there. In a rapidly changing world, if you think that your product remains the same 10, 15, 20 years, how can you expect to continue to survive? Okay, now okay, fine, they'll add a column, or maybe page 3 becomes a little more heavyweight or something like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about evolving with the times. Now, like for example, like I said, the news has already happened yesterday, and I'm then picking up a newspaper today. Do I need to read what I had seen on either the either television news last night, or on internet, or on Twitter or something last night, and I need to read that newspaper? On the other hand, if your newspaper was deeply integrated with a QR codes which are giving currently updated story of the same, supposing there's a story about, I don't know, election news, or it's a story about some development, some accident or something. And while I read the whatever is printed, but it has a quick code which says, for currently updated information on this, click this and I read it through my smartphone and I get updated. Or if there is a way that, for some people, reading is a problem, but I pick up a newspaper and I sort of do a QR code and it starts talking to me. It gives me news in an audio form. I mean, it's all very doable because the technology exists. I mean, you have a print paper with every column. If there is a little button that you click that, I mean, in the sense you take a picture or something and it starts talking the news, like how you have on an online article. You know, let's say for example, senior citizens with eyesight issues, etc. They might still find it interesting. But has any newspaper done this? So your product is literally the same, and you're saying, geo and data and smartphones and all have come, and you're still actually serving the same exact newspaper. How can you expect that people will still like you or use? That's the challenge. They've not evolved. Television, at least, because most television channels of some repute have also created their OTTs and all that. So at least they are transforming that. Okay, I'm not going only giving you appointment viewing, but if you want to watch my programs, yes, I have an OTT player. You can go and catch up TV. All those things are there. But print, I think, is a challenge. Print or outdoor, there is some change, some kind of innovation you are seeing in outdoor, but still too little and too late, honestly.
Right. Right. I think yes, could be a great point if we have those QR code. I mean, sometimes, you nowadays, what I realize is that most of us, our generation is more on into videos. We like to see the content in the video format. We do like to see it like the reels, the way reels are going on in Instagram. We just want to see something of 45 seconds or 30-second thing, no more than that. So it completely a thing now, which is why I can say newspapers, just like you added, QR codes can be a great addition to the papers.
Or they can create some simpler, kind of a button or something which you just click and snap with the app, and it starts talking to you or playing a video. QR code is also still a little clumsy. You can make it
Mhm.
even simpler, right? I mean, and I know some newspapers attempted it a few years back, but they gave up. I mean, literally, I say the newspaper is exactly the same that I was getting 10, 20 years back. And in a changing world, how can you not evolve as a product? And like, that's the real story. There that you didn't evolve, and at some point you will see a problem.
Right. So you have worked in the B2C market and as well as in B2B. So how do you think both are different?
So see, I mean, at its core, when it comes to digital advertising, especially,
Mm,
uh, and I'm talking the pre-robo area, pre-Chat GPT and all those areas, because that's where it was still finally people. So even if it's B2B, you might be actually selling to another company, but at that end, it's still a human being, a purchase manager, a procurement guy, or a business person who is receiving it. So at some level, the fundamentals remain the same, that you need to understand the insight of or the behavior of that person. So if it's B2C, you need to understand consumer behavior and et cetera, and make sure that you're putting the right content, right information, whatever are the cues to get them to move ahead in the funnel, in your purchase funnel. And it doesn't so much change in the B2B because it's still finally at the end of the day a human there. So yeah, in pure digital marketing, in that sense, a lot of it was similar, except that in a B2B case, a lot of times, a lot of products end up seeming like commodities. I mean, let's say you're a paint company and you buy chemicals from your suppliers and you want to buy XYZ chemical. It's a formulation. It's the exact same formulation you can buy from vendor A, B, C, and D. And so it's, at one level, it is all about price and terms, that, who gives you the cheapest, who gives you the most credit terms, because there is no difference in the chemical. So what is there to do in terms of branding and marketing, etc.? However, so even in such situations, the way to differentiate then is to create a lot more in terms of thought leadership. That, look, if it's chemicals, I mean, I know uh, the subject. If I'm a vendor, I try to portray that I get this better than others. I can tell you that when you use this, if you use 5 grams of this and mix with this, your paint will be, more, flexible, this or that, or features. So I'm trying to say the product is the same, but I'm trying to give you value in terms of how it is to be used, how you can use less and get more, how you can get efficiency. So, you could say that at one level, all vendors are giving me the same chemical. I just need a good price and I'll buy. On the other end, one of them says, no, I'll tell you that how this chemical will make a difference in your paint, how you can add this value, that value. And that's where you're. So that's marketing in B2B, where you go into thought leadership, you show that you know this space better than your competitors, and you get preference just for that. B2C is more conventional, it's more about branding and getting consumer preferences and all that. So to that extent, there is a little difference, but and again, I said this is pre-robo days. Now, when it comes to robo buying, where literally human is not involved, and then you have to just submit your, let's say, proposals or quotations on a form, and the machine decides that who is your best supplier. That completely changes system. If that happens, then that's unlikely to happen for B2C, because B2C individual is buying, so he's not setting up these automated purchase systems. But when it is a B2B, if it's a large organization, they may set up that, okay, everything will be automated, no human involved. Let the quotations come in this way. These are all the specs. They have to say yes, 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 put a price, put terms, and submit, and the machine will decide that who's best. Then it's very, very different. Then you're getting into a different zone, but it's not that common yet. So right now it's still people. So whether it's a B2B customer or a B2C customer, there's a human being involved. You have to find a way to appeal to the human in your own way. And so in that sense, a lot of it is still similar.
Right. Since you just talked about Chat GPT or AI or robotic world, do you think one day AI and these robotic things or automation, which is actually happening nowadays in everything in digital, but you think AI or Chat GPT's kind of thing will be replacing most of the jobs in marketing? Because they're doing a lot of stuff. And I even explored Chat GPT and realized that it has the potential to do a lot of things. And just a click of some buttons, some words, some phrases, some keywords, and you're able to get it right in front of you.
No, no, absolutely. I believe that will happen. I have a couple of published articles on the subject that will Chat GPT, take your job away kind of articles are there. And
Mm.
I think, unfortunately, a lot of people working in kind of knowledge workers, so-called knowledge workers, but working in offices, are unfortunately doing very structured, repetitive tasks. I mean, a large amount of workforce is, is doing repetitive tasks. So, supposing you're processing insurance claims, there is a way that, okay, check this, check this, check this, check this, and then put paper ahead, or things of that. There are a lot of forms, a lot of pick out these 4 data points, and send a report like this. Like today, I could have a secretary who is supposed to make some emails for me, and I just tell her or him that I need to communicate this, create this. Lot of those tasks already, in the current versions of Chat GPT and similar tools, are, I'm getting better impact from them. I mean, today I have tested Chat GPT for some. I mean, tested. I have not yet replaced anybody in the office for Chat GPT so far, but I've asked such question that I want to communicate to the team about this holiday. Give me a draft, and it makes a nice 3 4 paragraph, perfectly written, good grammar, good spellings, nicely written email. Now, if I had asked somebody else, a human, to do this, now I say that, do I need that person? It's like that. So it's just a beginning of those kinds, and a lot of jobs will be under stress. That's my concern, my fear. At the same time, when I put this article out, a lot of people pointed out, and somewhere I also realized that this kind of shift has happened through the history. When maybe the phone came, or when the internet came, or when print came, or when cars came, something else, something or the other, there was an inflection and something got hurt. But humans have constantly been able to rise above that and go to the next higher level of work, beyond that level of, so to say, automation or something. and that could happen. I wish that we continue to be able to keep rising above it. Unfortunately, while I have complete belief in what has happened in the past, we have reached a certain point that this technology is now literally, like they say, it's artificial intelligence. It can do a lot in terms of replacing human roles. So there is a lot of people doing a lot of existing kinds of jobs who will need to find something more evolved to do, which the AI tool cannot do. And the task as a whole, according to me, is extremely challenging. So while I'm a pure optimist in life, and I always feel that humans will succeed and rise above. I am concerned more this time around, because when I see the scale that the AI tools can actually do work of a hell of a lot of jobs. Now, if such large percentages of people can potentially get replaced by robots, how soon and what else will they do, which is again something that the AI tool can't do. You might go somewhere and the AI tool quickly catches up there. Then again, you're not going into a space which you can't be replaced. You can still be replaced because AI tool will constantly also learn new tricks. So how do you scale? How do you get like 30, 40, 50% of the population to learn things which are beyond that of an AI tool is and do it rapidly is my big fear. So I'm not sure how that's going to pan out, whether it'll happen in a year, 2 years, 10 years, or 25 years. If it takes 25 years, we are all okay. If it happens in the next couple of years, 2, 3 years, then there is a lot to worry about. But let's see how it goes. I mean, I'll be I'm happy to be a spectator and watch how things develop here.
Right. And apart from its replacing marketers, do you think it is going to be a very tough competition for Google, Chat GPT?
I mean, it will be a competition for everything. See, today the first thing which comes at, oh, instead of search, I go to Chat GPT. I think that's a very narrow way to look at it. I don't go to Google to help me create a marketing plan or something. But today I'll go to Chat GPT and probably take my chance and get it to do that. I mean, there are so many versions coming out. Last 2, 3 days, I've been playing around with this version of AI tool, which is like Krishna and Arjuna. So, as if you are Arjuna and you are asking Krishna questions, and it's like the Bhagavad Gita on AI. So, from a Gita's perspective, like how Krishna would have answered Arjuna's question, it's giving those kinds of answers. So, it's getting into spirituality, it's getting into philosophy, all that. So, it's not something which by default necessarily it was something that I would have only gone to Google. I would have gone elsewhere. I could have gone to people. So it's taking a different form. I think it's it's if you look at very minimally, then you say, oh, it's going to replace search. It's going to do a lot more than just replacing search.
Right. Yes. I mean, in the way you added it in the form of Krishna and Arjuna, I completely agree that you just need to put up some commands, not just command the questions, and it give you a very particular answer about the same.
And it's the right training. I mean, AI is all
Mhm.
about training the tool. So it's got trained in, let's say, all the Bhagavad Gita, facets, and then it's rapidly learning. AI is like rapidly learning and improving itself. So it evolves, keeps evolving, and before you know, literally, it's like you're having a dialogue with Krishna, and you're getting all the gyan. It's like that.
Absolutely. So when I explored ChatGPT, I realized that I did 10 articles in a day with complete SEO on page, off page. It was giving everything me in the detail thing. And I was so shocked that after my first article, the second one was so easy to create that it knew that I wanted in this format. And it was
Absolutely.
able to give me all the 10 other articles in a very quick hour. I saw it to my content writer, and he was like, sir, if this is going to be there, why I'm here? So these kind of things which I realized, but yeah, there's something which I realized that maybe these AI tools will coming up, but the human touch, the emotional touch, which is going to be there in our articles or blogs, which generally adds to a factor that people reads, is something which I ask my content writer to add in my articles. So yeah, initially, yes, I can say that maybe it takes some time to replace us as a marketer or content writers or anyone into the marketing phase. But yes, as you said, it is more likely to like a Krishna role in our lives who will be guiding us to give us great results.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm just coming to the next question. According to you, what are the top three mistakes committed by the organization today in leveraging digital marketing?
So, at least from my experience working with a lot of clients, I'll say from there, not some theory. So, one is I sometimes feel that there's a there's a lot of FOMO amongst marketers, and they want to try everything which is coming. Like there is a lot of knee-jerk trials. No, no, I want to do this also. I want to do that also because some competitor is doing, some other brand is doing. And in the process, I mean, you want to try every shiny new object that comes your way, whether it is relevant for you, whether you have given adequate time, effort, budgets to the previous ideas which you had taken up, or you say, no, 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 this is changing now, let's go here, etc. So this is one that, trying out too many things, which sometimes also includes, platforms and tools that, okay, this is a new tool, this is this MarTech tool, this is an EdTech tool, this is data analytics, this, that, and you keep getting entangled in all these, tools and jargon and all that. And sometimes it comes at the cost of losing the desired focus on business and business goals. I mean, as a marketer, you're there to pursue your business goals. You need to move product out of your warehouses into the store and get consumers to buy it and come back and reuse it and recommend you. That's the key goal as a marketer that you got to have. And there you are suddenly getting all lost in tools and platforms and technology and everything. So recognizing that, okay, this is my aim as a marketer, I will only pick up those kinds of tools and technologies which aid me in doing exactly this. And 25 other things will come. I will not worry about it because if I start saying I need to be on top of every tool, I will only be doing this because the tools and those things are going so rapidly that you're going to be busy versus saying that, okay, let's just focus on business. So this is one thing. Second is in terms of like this is not something about a marketer, but sometimes it's about the businesses, about corporates and companies. Say like we've found this a lot of times when we sell our MarTech services, that they start with a lot of big fanfare and all that. That oh yeah, we want to get into a MarTech and we want to get into a solution and this and that. So they invest in some platform, let's say Salesforce or whatever. They invest in our services. We get started, and then suddenly because economy goes here and there, there's pressure on the numbers, they start reducing budgets, they hold back on investment. Now it's a MarTech tool and a MarTech system that you're adopting. It is not a campaign. Earlier what used to happen that you put out a campaign, you put television advertising, you have some problem, you'll cut down the media, and it's okay. Your campaign, instead of running for 40 days, it ran for 20 days, fine, it's okay. Here you do the same thing because still marketers are now running tech budgets, right? So there is still a, a kind of a hangover of the marketing way of thinking. The marketing way of thinking is that, okay, the pressure is there, cut the budgets and reduce it. But here you have adopted a platform. If you do not give it its full sort of the whole journey of getting the platform into the system, getting data, running it, trying out multiple campaigns, making sure it runs through, and then being consistently working on it, you will not see the benefit. And then you'll say, oh my God, we've spent so much money and we've not got the value. The value comes, the global companies who have mastered their MarTech use, they have really funded it well. They have given it all the time. And today they are basking in the glory because they get such phenomenal impact and ROIs, etc. And that's where the case studies come. But here often we find that some pressure comes and you cut the budgets and then you stop the implementation halfway, or you say, okay, let's do only this much and not that much. All those things are costing businesses from getting the required end impact that you could get out of technology.
Right. So I think probably giving it some time is something which, as a marketer, people are missing out. right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. What do you recommend between outsourcing a digital marketing to an agency or doing it in-house?
So these are the pros and cons, right? So today,
Mm.
I mean, very candidly, we have more demand than supply of quality digital services. So, if you, I mean, there'll be a lot of small, small agencies, people coming out of college and two, three people getting together and creating a so-called digital agency. I'm not talking about those, but experience, good quality digital marketing agencies are fewer than the demand for them is there, because every small to big company wants to do digital advertising. Now, in that situation, say you are a mid-sized company or a small company, and you want to get good help, you go to a decent agency. I mean, with due respect, more often than not, they will not have the bandwidth to take your business up, because they are already working with many large companies and large brands. So sometimes they'll say no, or sometimes they may take it up, but then have their interns or junior people trying to run your marketing, from their side. So you feel that, oh, you're working with this big agency, but what you're getting is actually a couple of interns and very little supervision from the experienced people running your brand. For the agency, it is one more account, and for you, it's your business, and it doesn't, you won't see the impact. So, I mean, and I'm an agency person, and I'm still saying, because this is the fact. So if you can get, if you have the budgets, if you have the long-term vision, that you can work with a larger and more experienced agency, and sort of, so that you get the right experience skills serving your account, it is very good, because the advantage of the agency is that the agency has experience across multiple brands, multiple platforms, small budgets, mid-sized budgets, large budgets, different things they have seen across the client. So all that learning is available to you, your brand. If you do it on your own, and you may get the best of person, but that person is only working on your brand. Now you may be an FMCG brand or a retail brand or a tech brand, then that learning is limited to what you're doing for your own brand. So you don't have that experience that, oh, maybe this platform will work or this thing will work. So having an agency helps in that way, provided you're getting the right experience, the right skills from a good agency. On the other end, if you're a small or mid-sized company and you're not getting that, then instead of going to an agency and getting their interns working for you, it is better to put your own effort, and as much as possible, maybe the owner level person gets involved in that journey and understands, and tries to actually use and create the marketing themselves. They are better off than going to an agency. So this is the pros and cons according to me. But again, at a different level, what is agency work today? It's not the conventional advertising itself. The agency world today is websites and SEO and technology and apps and VR and AR and MarTech and whatnot. For a business to really have the skills across all of that, it requires a large organization with a lot of budget and team and all that, to really in-source all this. You can do your campaigns, and you can do maybe a little social media management on your own, but for everything else, you will need to work with partners. So yeah, I think it's got to be a world where maybe some of it is in-house, some of it is agency. Even if you're working with agency, you still need to have skilled people internally who can talk to the agencies, who can understand the work that your agency is doing, and challenge them, query them, so that the best impact happens for the brand.
Right. I guess we in Digital Vidya, we have seen a lot of VP CEOs, co-founders joining our program because they are taking services from the agencies. And just because they were not able to understand those words like CPC, landing pages, how it's working, how it's performing, the ad metrics, they do our CDMM program to understand those. And yes, I can completely agree that when it comes to outsourcing or setting up your own team, is setting up your own team is like it's expenditure for any organization, so they generally go with those agency thing, right? So Yeah, completely agree with you over here. After this, I'm just like to come to the second question. What is your favorite digital marketing techniques or channel, and why? Is there any favorite techniques of yours you use
So
in
for
your?
when it comes to client work, there is no one size fits all. It is
Mhm.
very clearly objective oriented,
Yeah.
and also what is it that we are trying to do for the brand? What where is their target audience, and what kind of behavior change, what kind of shift we want to try to get from their consumer, from the target audience. So there is no one size fits all, and we are across our different brand and different clients. We are using various different means. But coming to personal preference, I mean, if I have to say that what has worked for me as an individual, definitely LinkedIn has worked well from creating a certain professional perception about myself, through content and through other posts and all. And over time, connecting and creating a network, it has helped in today. If I put out something, a lot of people get to see it, but they also see where I'm coming from. It's not just about the four lines that I send, but because of the history of my kind of if you may call it my avatar on LinkedIn, there is a certain brand persona of sorts that there is a little better understanding. And it helps because it kind of creates the right it drives my message to a certain desired audience, etc. Besides that, I of course also have used Twitter very well. In the sense I've used it to network, to connect, and occasionally put out a viewpoint. So for me, in terms of personal usage, these two have been best. Of course, over time, I have done a lot of blogging. I have done video blogging. I have done for a while. I was doing a podcast of my own in like literally more than 100 episodes I had recorded and put out. So I've done all of that. And everything helps. Finally, it's a sum total of all of these, which helps create a certain brand, and I mean, in a sense, everybody is a brand, whatever. I mean, scale of brand may be different, but if you're present on social media, you're trying to create a certain followership, certain visibility, you're a brand in that sense. So if I say Sanjay Mehta, the brand, all of these have together helped in creating something, and of which I guess I think still LinkedIn and Twitter for me have been like on high. Although I've done a lot of blogging, a lot of videos, a lot of podcasts, everything.
Right. So another question. Do you recommend freshers today consider digital marketing for building their career? And what is your advice for the newbies who are looking at entering into digital marketing industry?
You know, there is, I mean, I was in some interesting discussions few days back when we were talking about how countries like China and Russia and Korea, Korea, the whole Korean drama business has become a big hit, right? The Korean television and everything.
K-pop.
I
Yeah.
I heard that those kids are not don't even go to schools, nor conventional schools, but they are sent to theater and film kind of schools right away. In China and Russia, you've seen and heard of how kids go straight to like a ballet school or a sports school or something. So it's this way that today education is not going to be a conventional K10 K12 education standard, learning the same history, geography, science, maths kind of subjects. You're going to have a shift happening. There is, because I mean, kids are starting very early in their area of interest, whether it's art, whether it's sport, whether it's anything. So, in that scenario, the way the education is happening is going to change. Amongst other changes that I would see is that couple of things such as digital skills are not something that you specialize in. Like you learn, like in today's schools, you learn, like they say, reading, writing, and arithmetic. I mean, tomorrow's students will learn digital marketing as a default, and not digital marketing, but use of digital platforms and all as a part of basic curriculum. So by the time you come out of class 10, class 12 or something, you're already there in that sense. right? It's because it's so integral to our lives. Today you want to buy something, you want to do your banking, you want to basically any kind of service, the digi locker and digi yatra and this and that and Aadhaar and net banking and everything. Your life is so much working using digital methodologies. So it's not something that you learn as a specialty skill. It is something that you learn, like how you learn to write and read and arithmetic and all that. You have to learn that. So it's going to become part in something off topic here, but I believe that financial literacy also will become part of a regular curriculum from early days in school. So these are a couple of changes which today are being seen as specialization, and after 10th, after 12th, you learn that those will actually become part of a regular curriculum. Now, as today, as you see at the end of class 10, class 12, you say, oh, I want to go for science, I want to go for commerce, I want to go for engineering, medicine, this, that. In that sense, you would have got your base. Now you want to specialize as a visualizer or a data analytics person or a developer or whatever. Could be also options in the multitude of career opportunities that you get after 10, 12, because the base is already there with most people.
Right. I think, yeah, completely agree here because most of the students, or maybe I can say that they're already on digital platforms already. Maybe
Yeah.
they're using social media, they're using YouTube, and you might have seen the way there are vloggings happening right now. I think you can find every kid right now. They are doing some of their podcasts. They have their own startups running up. They have their own YouTube channels, and now. I think Digital Vidya was able to deliver a lecture, not a lecture, a session on digital sensitizing for class 6 students year back. And I still remember at that time, we asked students what they want to be. And 60% were able to say that we wanted to become a YouTuber. they
Yeah.
they had this thing in their mind because vlogging is something which we see too much nowadays, and still I do believe that in our homes the way our TVs has digitized, it becomes smart, and we mostly instead of watching those channels nowadays, we binge watch those Netflix, Hotstar. YouTube is something which is coming up. Our students have, or students, or can say students or participants have moved towards the digital things. They're already digitally sensitized instead of us, the 90s students, then compared to the one which born in 20s and then those into 2010. So it completely changed. And yes, since they're already digitally sensitized, the way getting into the industry is something more easier for them now. All right, so coming to the other question, how do you see digital marketing evolve in the future? And what are the top trends you foresee for 2023 and beyond?
Um, I think it's such a tough question, honestly, in terms of in the future when you say, I mean, 23 is still something which is visible.
Mhm.
Uh, can I say that in let's say last September, October, could I have seen Chat GPT emerge as such a strong, platform of sorts? I could have not. I mean, I didn't see that. I mean, although other versions of AI and all, Delhi and all have been around for a while, that we would have such a easy natural language interface like ChatGPT in our midst is not something that I would have easily visualized six months back. And yet today it is very much there. And such more versions and more changes will come, right? So in some sense, it's a little hard to predict, but at least looking at the near future in the 2023, I think we are still seeing a video continue to be a big space. I mean, big area of focus. A lot of brands don't still have that much investment going into video. They will need to. They will need to increase. There will be a way to do sharper, smarter, lower costing videos. One of the challenges today I still see for brands is that the over dependence on performance marketing is getting them at least so-called immediate sales sometimes. But as soon as you pull out the marketing monies, I know the sales collapses because you've not done any serious brand building. So maybe there's going to be a return back to brand building investments, because uh, otherwise you have to have a constant flow of performance marketing budgets. Whereas somebody who invests in brand, people, the consumer comes back on their own looking for the brand, right? So that, I mean, I'm talking about very fundamental issues. I'm not talking about platform that, this platform will be bigger and that platform will be bigger or something. That's a constantly changing field. But when it is marketing fundamentals, the marketing fundamentals is what works for your consumer. How will you generate preference? How will you generate sales? How will you generate sustaining sales? How will you generate lifetime value from your consumer? Would you build loyalty from your consumers? Those are the kind of things which you want to continue to grapple with, because the shorter cut is keep investing in, for performance marketing on Google, keep selling your product on Amazon. The day you pull out money, it collapses, and the day somebody else sells the same thing for, 2 rupees cheaper, again it puts impact on you. So you're doing commodity work, you're not doing brand work, you're not creating preference for yourself. So I think you probably start seeing a lot of return back to some fundamentals of brand building, with good strong storytelling, with video, with other technology bits. Personalized communication is obviously going to be very big. So whether it's personalized content, or marketing automation, which is all about marketing to the individual in a sense, based on your various parameters, your purchase history, etc., etc. So all those, of course, will continue to thrive because those are required today.
Can I say that if you wanted to hire a digital marketer, these are the top skill you would like to see in them, right?
Yeah, familiarity with all this. Ideally, that the all-rounder person would need to know some of all of this. Um, but as an agency, we usually don't need so many all-rounders as we need specialists, because we will have special teams and departments, and there's only creative, or there's only analytics, or there's only SEO or something. But on the client side, the all-rounder is very useful, because that one person can then handle, the various things that the client is doing, the brand is doing, and through one or more agencies. But at the agency side, it's more specialists that are required.
Right. Okay. Coming to our second last question, and then we'll wrapping up our interview today. If you're given the power to make one change in digital marketing industry today, what would that be?
What's actually one of the things, at least looking at it from an agency's point of view, I mean, it might sound a little surprising, but we find that, uh, on the one side, there is a need for a lot of strategic input when it comes for an agency to do a good job for a client. But under commercial pressure, the client wants to continue to squeeze down the retainer amounts that are being paid, or even for everything else, whether it's media, whether it is creative, the commissions or the percentages that you earn on all of them are small. Now, where does that leave room for the agency to invest in strategy, right? Because you're just about making so much to support your retainer teams, your media team, there's nothing else left to invest into a client's account, because everything is very bare bone in terms of the money is allowed to make. When it was mainline agencies, or when still is mainline agencies, but especially earlier in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years back, there was a very clear strategy, planning, creative budget which was being given, and where good talent, senior planners and senior creative people would work on the brand from a strategy or a creative positioning, or the master campaign, and which was not given as a 2%, 5% of a creative cost. It was like a proper retainer. I think that used to contribute to good strategy coming out for brands. And in pre-digital times, all brand stories and all the great work was done by conventional advertising, by television and print. But there was so much amazing planning and strategy and creative work which went behind those campaigns. today somewhere I find that digital is not given that breadth at all. We are somehow majority of our clients are asking us to work within a box, within so much margin, that then you have just about enough money to execute. You want an agency to contribute also, to create a strong strategy, a good creative framework, and then ideally we should get those kind of retainers that were being given to mainline agencies in those early days. So that's one of the things which is a bit of a concern, that it will come to a point where it'll be all execution work. I mean, performance marketing and just pure play execution. We're not investing then into the strategic backbone of the for the brand.
So companies are actually looking for a quick money. I mean, the money is spent and the return on ad spend, they are able to increase that. So that they are looking more towards that, not on the creative
Sort
side.
of. I mean, it's like, even in the creative, like, this, you have four people working, this is the cost, so much extra money we'll give. So then there is no room, like, there should be like a fully dedicated planning strategy team, creative team, which will strategize what next. And that's most times is a little hard in these days. I mean, I'm not saying it's always that thankfully, we have some really good clients who allow us some room, but the trend I'm seeing is that people are cutting down on those things.
Oh, absolutely right. Would you like to share a few words about digital marketing education we are imparting in Digital Vidya?
No, so I have, of course, known Digital Vidya for many, many years, and I have a lot of respect. Every time somebody asks me that, I want to send my kids for some digital training, or if some, even in business, sometimes people ask that I want to upgrade and I want to, get digital skills. I mean, most of the time I end up referring them to Digital Vidya, because I have a lot of respect for all that has gone behind creating the brand, and the focus on the kind of education and kind of topics that are required for the day. So yeah, it's been, I mean, I like, it's a great thing that you're doing, because like I said, the demand for such skills is outpacing the supply. And also often after all that, we don't get the right quality of skills. So whatever contribution you are doing, it's helping the industry, and providing good talent to come. And I just wish you all the best to keep doing more and more of it, and hopefully create more digital professionals through your education.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your valuable time and thank you for the words of appreciation for us. It's a pleasure to have you here. There are a lot of new things which I came to know from this interview and from your perspective, how digital is shaping the world, how it's impacting us all around. So thank you for giving us your valuable time. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.